Hi everybody. This is a follow-on video from our first one that we did. We did calculations in queries. Remember when we had to do profit and loss, we had to work out what is profit, what is loss if you take a selling price minus a cost price and do an extra calculated field in a query in an Access database. Now, I did tell you that I would follow it up with the use of dates, using dates to do calculations in a calculated field in a query. So exactly the same. Maybe you want to refresh what you did before. You went into a query, you opened your query and you went into the first blank field here and you did a calculated field. This one is going to be for the for dates. This is not going to be profit minus loss or this times that. It's going to work out one date minus another date to either give you number of days, number of years, or number of months, whatever we specify. Okay, let me show you the table to get a good idea of what's in here. This is a table called, it's in the Animal Rescue Center database. It's a table called Animals. And it's a rescue center where animals can go to and then they get adopted, and it's got a whole lot of information in. The only three things we're going to worry about here is the name of the pet. I love these names, by the way. Names of the pet, name of the pet, and the date it was rescued and the date it was adopted. We want to know how many days did it spend in the shelter. In other words, how many days from when it was rescued until it was adopted, how many days actually passed, or how many years or how many months, whatever it was, so that we know how long the animals stay before they get adopted. I don't have to explain this concept to you. Look at it nicely. So remember, once again, when we did date and time functions in Excel, remember that you can't subtract a date from the other date the wrong way around. You mustn't take the last date minus the new date. It must be the other way around. So in this case, this pet, Samba, is a dog and Ginger is a cat. Rescued on the 8th of January 2018, adopted on the 20th of February 2018. We want to know how many days that is. You can't say rescued minus adopted because that date is older. You want the new date. So it's 20th of Feb minus 8th of January. But remember, in Excel, you have A1 minus B1 or B1 minus A1. In Access, you have a field name. So it's going to be the date adopted minus the date rescued is going to give us a figure of how many days this animal has been in the shelter before it was adopted. So let's go and do it. I've already made a query for us to use. There it is. In Design View, I've made these things a little bit bigger so that we can see what we're doing. So remember, I'm not going to stop all the time because you can stop this video, pause it, rewind it. You can hear my voice 40 times over if that pleases you or if it doesn't please you. Okay, so I'm going to say the date adopted field minus the date rescue field. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to copy and paste now. I'm just going to open my little bracket and I'm going to say date underscore adopted. Remember, there's a field name. Now I go minus. Okay, that's the field name. Date adopted minus, open the field, date underscore rescued. Remember, no spelling mistakes or it won't work. If I press enter, giving me expression 1. Remember, expression 1 is what is the name of the field. We're going to call this num days. Number of days that it's spent. Now, if we go and run the query, very nicely there we can see Ginger was there 13 days. All the animals, how many days they spent in the shelter from the time they were rescued till the time they were adopted. Now, that was an easy one. Like I said, I'm not going to repeat it because you can go back and rewind and speel weer and kyk weer if you want to. So that was a straightforward one. Now, what if we want to say, right, that's number of days. We actually want to see it in how many months or years have they spent here. So let's go and look at that one. We're now going to say how many months between the two dates. So we don't want to know, was it months or years? Anyway, I'm going to go and say the same thing, exactly the same thing. I'm going to say, number of months. I want to know how many months each animal spent in the center. And we are then going to go one step further and we're going to go and use a round function. So take a breath. Let's just go back. Rewind. Forget what I just said in the past 30 seconds. I was finding my feature. Let's go and do another function. This time around, we're going to say that's the number of days. But we want to do a second function that says in months, how many months did they actually spend? So forget about the first calculation. We're doing it all over again. So we go exactly the same. In fact, what I'm going to do now is copy paste because, it's a little bit... to do the whole thing again, it's exactly the same function. This is not number of days now. I'm going to put it's called months. Same function, which is date rescued minus date adopted. And I'm going to, no. Come on, man. This thing doesn't want to play the game with me today. Kom. Months, number of months. Date adopted minus date rescued, and that's all hunky-dory. But now we have to, what we want to do, we want to know how many months it is. So we must divide it by 365 to bring it to years, and then multiply by 12 to bring it to months, okay? We're going to divide by 365 and multiply by 12. But now, lovely people, if I want to divide by 365 and multiply by 12, I'm now looking at BODMAS, because if I just go here and I say, okay, it's got an invalid syntax, it doesn't like what I'm doing here. Forget about what I'm doing now, I'll talk to you in a minute. Okay, it's fixed. If I just go here and I say divided by 365 multiplied by 12, if that was Excel, what would it do? It would ignore the date adopted cell, and it would say date rescued divided by 365 times 12. So I want the date adopted, I want the answer of date adopted minus date rescued, I want that to be divided by 365 and multiplied by 12. In other words, BODMAS. So I put it in a bracket. This is just, my laptop is not happy with me this morning. Go here, and you put it in brackets. So you are taking like a normal function, and you are putting it inside round brackets, which means the round brackets means that it's BODMAS, that date adopted minus date rescued will now be divided by 365 and multiplied by 12. The answer, in other words, the product of that, or the answer of that equation, will then be divided by 365 and multiplied by 12 to bring it to months. Now if I run it, okay, it's not looking very nice, because why? It's a very, very long, it's 1.4 point, I'm not going to even read this. The decimal places are terrible, we have to format this, but there are two things they could say to you. They could say to you, go and format the cell and display it in a certain way. You would then go to property sheet, okay, you would just go to your property sheet over here. You would go here and you would say property sheet, and you would go just format, blah, 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 and you would format it to decimal places or whatever they want you to do. In this case, the question says round it off. Round it off. Don't format it, round it off, which means we're going to have to do a round function. So I've added that now. So the first one we did was a straightforward date adopted minus date rescued, and we got the number of days. Then they said, no, we want to see it in months, but we want that figure to be displayed in one decimal place, but you must round it off. Months, date adopted minus date rescued divided by 365 multiplied by 12. In brackets, please, in round brackets, because that function or that equation has to be in brackets, so that the answer to that will be multiplied by 12 divided by 365. Okay, now we want to round it. So what do? Like you would do in Excel, you're going to go here and you're going to go and add, whenever I click, this thing runs away, add a round function. Now because I'm adding, I open a bracket, a normal bracket. Let me try and make this thing a little bit bigger, so it's going to swear at me. Let's go back and we say comma 1, close. If I run it, works like a charm. So now it's in months. That's the date. The other one, I don't even know what I've done with it now. I'm not showing it. Okay, I've unchecked it. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, number of days, number of months. And you didn't go to format here and just go and format it to X amount of fixed and decimal places. You wouldn't get marks for that. This is a round function. Now, if we did that in Excel, Access. If you did this function in Excel, if you're battling with this function, take it and do it in Excel. Go and put a date in Excel in A1, put one in B1, minus the one from the other, and practice doing it there, because there you've got the rows and columns. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you've got field names, and your field names must be in square brackets. So you've now done a nested function. There you go. Remember nested functions? We've done that now. You've done a nested function that says the date adopted minus the date rescued divided by 365 times 12, and then we've put a round function, and we've said inside that, round it now, round that whole function. So we start with a bracket, we go right to the end, we say comma 1, and we close with a bracket. Remember, opening brackets and closing brackets must be of equal amounts. They must be exactly the same amount. And that, lovely people, is calculations with dates. So you're going to have to go back and look at my stuff and look at it again and rewind it. I've now got to the stage where if I make mistakes along the way, that's who I am. I do that in class as well. I'm not going to go back and have to redo my videos. That's driving me a little bit nuts. So in your book, Calculations with Dates, if you go and look at your activity, it says first activity, it's activity 3. This is in module 5.2. where they actually tell you to do exactly what I've done here. So you can open yours, play my video, have your book open and see what I've done. You can attempt to do C and D as well. I've just done A and B because I don't want to spend too much time on this video. I hope that's helped you. I hope you can follow what I've done. Calculations, this is important. Grade 12s, those things of create a query and put it in how many people are in the blue house and how many people are older than 16. That's not the stuff you're going to have to deal with in grade 12. You're going to deal with this. These calculated fields, this is what you're going to have to be doing. So please watch the first one again of a normal calculated field, like something minus something, and there's no funnies and brackets. And then come back here and try and do the dates, please, because this is what you will get. This is very, very important. Thank you, grade 12s. I hope you're working hard, and I hope you're staying safe.